Biography of the prominent Filipinos and their significant contribution. Philippines has a rich historical background that made us Filipinos, Filipinos. So it is not surprising that we recognize and respect our prominent figures who fought for our country. So here are some of the Filipinos whom we recognize and pay tribute to for their heroism and taking huge role in Philippine history. First is Dr. Jose Protasio Rizal Mercado y Alonso Realonda, or also known as Dr. Jose Rizal. He was born at Calamba, Laguna as a seventh child of Francisco Rizal Mercado and Teodora Alonso y Quintos, a family of wealthy farmers who rented land from the Dominican religious order. At an early age, Rizal showed a precocious intellect that he learned the alphabet from his mother at the age of 3 and could read and write at the age of 5. Rizal, with his intellect, later on became a novelist, poet, physician, linguist, and a statesman. He enrolled in one of the famous universities here in the Philippines, the University of Santo Tomas, as a medical student. One of Rizal's famous writing is the Noli Me Tangere, a novel that is severely accusing the Catholic Church and Spanish colonial rule in the Philippines. Another writing that Rizal published is the sequel entitled El Filibusterismo, that when translated to English was titled The Reign of Greed. When the Philippine Revolution broke out in 1896, Rizal denounced the violence and received permission to travel to Cuba to tend to victims of yellow fever in exchange for his freedom. He later on arrested by Spaniards and handed over to Manila for a trial. He was charged with conspiracy and sedition and also rebellion. Despite of lack of evidences, he was given death sentence and executed through firing squad in Manila on December 30, 1896. Next is Andres Bonifacio, a Filipino revolutionary hero, hence known as the father of the revolution, who founded the Katipunan, a secret society which spearheaded the uprising against the Spanish and laid the groundwork for the First Philippine Republic. Andres Bonifacio was born in Tondo, Manila on November 30, 1863. He grew up in the slums and knew from practical experience the actual conditions of the class struggle in his society. Orphaned early, he interrupted his primary schooling in order to earn a living as a craftsman and then as clerk, messenger, and agent of foreign commercial firms in Manila. Bonifacio acquired an understanding of the dynamics of the socio-historical process through the teachings of classic rationalism from the works of Jose Rizal, Victor Hugo's Les Miserables, Eugene Sue, The Wandering Jews, the books of the French Revolution, to join the Liga Filipina, which Rizal organized in 1892 for the purpose of uniting and intensifying the nationalist movement for reforms. When the Liga was dissolved upon the arrest and banishment of Rizal, Bonifacio formed the Katipunan in 1892 and thus provided the rallying point for the people's agitation for freedom, independence, and equality. The Katipunan exalted work as the source of all value. In August 26, Bonifacio and the Katipunan tore their poll taxes and waved their red flag as a sign of beginning of the revolt against the Spaniards. A conflict split the rebels into two groups of Magdiwang and Magdalo in Cavite and Luzon. Bonifacio was invited to mediate, only to be rebuffed by the clannish middle class of Cavite. General Emilio Aguinaldo, as the elected president of the Provisional Revolutionary Government, ordered the arrest of Bonifacio for its divisive and harmful to unity plan that leads him to execution for treason and sedition. So Bonifacio was executed on May 10, 1897. Next is Emilio Aguinaldo, the head of the First Philippine Republic, the Philippine revolutionary leader who fought for independence of the Philippine Islands. first against Spain and then against the United States. Emilio was born on March 23, 1869 and grew up in Kawit, Cavite and studied at Manila. When the war broke out between Spain and the United States in April 1898, Aguinaldo made arrangements with the U.S. consuls in Hong Kong and Singapore and with Commodore George Dewey to return from exile to fight against Spain on June 12. Aguinaldo proclaimed the independence of the Philippine Islands from Spain, hoisted the national flag, introduced a national anthem, and ordered a public reading of the Declaration of Independence. When he realized that the United States would not accept immediate and complete independence for the Philippines, he organized a revolution against American rule that resulted in 3 years of bloody guerrilla warfare. This war lasted until Aguinaldo surrendered. Apolinario Mabini, the sublime paralytic and advisor of the Philippine Revolution, and also a political philosopher and architect of the Philippine Revolution, he formulated the principles of a democratic, popular government, endowing the historical struggles of the Filipino people with a coherent ideological orientation. Apolinario Mabini was born in Talaga, Tanawan, Batangas on July 22, 1864. His parents belonged to the impoverished peasantry. He studied at the Colegio de San Juan de Letran in 1881 and at the University of Santo Tomas, where he received the law degree in 1894. In 1896, Mabini contracted an illness, probably infantile paralysis, that deprived him of the use of his legs. When the Katipunan revolt broke out late that year, the Spanish authorities arrested him. Unknown to many, Mabini was already a member of Jose Rizal's reformist association, the Liga Filipina. And though as a pacifist reformist, he was at first skeptical of Andres Bonifacio's armed uprising, Mabini later became convinced of the people's almost fanatical desire for emancipation. Subsequently, he turned out subversive manifestos appealing to all Filipinos to unite against Spain. In May 1898, Mabini was then summoned by Emilio Aguinaldo to act as his chief advisor. One of Mabini's chief work, La Revolución Filipina, is a recent analysis and cogent argument concerning the ideological implication of the revolution against Spain and the resistance to the American invaders, reveals the progressive and democratic impulse behind his thinking. He always tried to mediate between the people's will and the decisions of their leaders. The selfless and dedicated patriot then died on May 13, 1903. Marcelo H. del Pilar was a Philippine revolutionary propagandist and satirist. He tried to marshal the nationalist sentiment of the enlightened Filipino ilustrados, or bourgeoisie, against Spanish imperialism. Marcelo del Pilar was born in Kupang, Bulacan on August 30, 1850, to cultured parents. He studied at the Colegio de San Juan and later at the University of Santo Tomas, where he finished his law course in 1880. Fired by a sense of justice against the abuses of the clergy, del Pilar attacked bigotry and hypocrisy and defended in court the impoverished victims of racial discrimination. His mastery of Tagalog, his native language, enabled him to arouse the consciousness of the masses to the need for unity and sustained resistance against the Spanish tyrants. He preached about the gospel work, self-respect, and human dignity. He then founded the newspaper Diaryong Tagalog to propagate democratic liberal ideas among the farmers and peasants. The Spaniards got angry and suspected him of being an enemy of Spain. He was advised by his relatives to leave the Philippines and he went to Spain. Del Pilar then died of tuberculosis caused by hunger and enormous privation in Barcelona on July 4, 1896. Sultan Kudarat. a brave Muslim leader in Mindanao, was known for his bravery and great leader in the part of Mindanao. The Muslim Filipino in Mindanao was not yet under the Spaniards during 1619 and 1671. It was him who kept the unity of the Filipino Muslims in the part of the Philippines. Maguindanao, also known as Mindanao, in the span of 52 years, he was the one who ruled the Mindanao. His career as a ruler was considered one of the most colorful in the Philippine history. He was married to one of the daughters of Sultan Mawalil Wasit of the Sulu Archipelago, who ruled over the Sultanate during the early part of the 17th century. During the 3 decades, the Filipino Muslim fought against the tyranny of the invaders. The strong leadership of Sultan Kudarat brought his people to fight against the Spaniards. To acknowledge his greater work, the government declared some parts of Mindanao to be named after him. Sultan Kudarat later on died at the age of 91. Juan Luna is a great Filipino painter, a prize winner in Europe for his paintings like The Death of Cleopatra, The Blood Compact, and The Spolarium. In 1875, he obtained his certificate as a pilot at the age of 17, and on 1877, he traveled in Spain to become a specialist in the art of designing. Because of his exceptional ability in paintings, he was chosen by the Philippine government to become pensionado in Europe. So there were many paintings were created by Juan Luna, in which until now many believe cannot be surpassed. Despite his commercial success and great talent, Juan's life is overshadowed by the dark controversies he became involved in because of his jealousy, disposition, and accusations of the loyalty of his wife, whom he accused of having an affair with Monsieur Rizal, a surgeon. On September 23, 1892, in a blinding rage of jealousy, Juan murdered his wife, his mother-in-law, along with causing serious injuries to his brother-in-law, who Juan later on met his own death in 1899 at the age of 42. Melchora Aquino, or also known as Tandang Sora, and considered as mother of the Philippine Revolution, Tandang Sora sympathized with the rebels and let them use her store to hold meetings and to stock supplies and weapons. At first, her collaboration was not suspected because she was an old woman and considered harmless. But later on, it was discovered and then the store put into fire. Yet Aquino and her family managed to escape to nearby Novaliches before the house was torched. On August 29, she was captured and jailed at the old Bilibid prison in Manila. There are reports of grueling prison interrogation by the Spanish Inquisitor, during which Aquino held fast and refused to divulge information about Bonifacio and his men. Later on, Aquino was set free in 1898 when the United States defeated the Spanish and established an American colonial regime over the Philippines. Melchora Aquino was then offered monetary rewards for her patriotism and sacrifice, yet he declined the offer and she lived in poverty, content with the knowledge and that she had contributed to her country's freedom. And last but not least, Gabriela Silang is a revolutionary woman, general, and the wife of Diego Silang, revolutionary leader of Ilocos. After the death of her husband, Gabriela don't lose hope. Instead, she fought against the Spaniards. She continued the fight of her husband and the Ilocanos. Gabriela continued the fight with her troops, but the Filipinos' insufficient arms bring them to the loss of fight. Gabriela was captured in the mountains of Abra. She was sentenced to die, and the rest of her revolutionary troops on September 20, 1763 in Vigan, Ilocos Sur.